We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So
We don't even contemplate ridiculous ideas or engage in ridiculous conversation. My brother, so we not even going to even go there with all due respect. But I appreciate you as a journalist asking thank you 'cause you listened 7 years ago. I'd have been like, yo, did you hire somebody to kill? But now you do it like a journalist, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that Puffy called me back in the day. He called me, he was like, I just want you to know I ain't have nothing to do with your brothers, I know who you are. But we never met. And I just want to call you man, to let you know that I have nothing to do with your brother's death. Now, why was he calling me, reaching out to me? Because Late Times had just dropped It was in early 2000s. Late Times had just dropped an article in the newspaper implicating him as well. A lot has happened in the unsolved murder case at Tupac. Since it started, it's been a long 27 years. With a lot of ups and downs, however, recently news has been coming in on a daily basis, and that gives a lot of folks hope that we might get to the end of this saga full of unpredictability and intrigue. East versus West Coast documentary on Keefe's arrest. Greg Kading all of these formed Pac's case, however, no matter where you look you see Diddy's name. And there's only a certain number of times before you start to wonder if there's something more to it. See, the fact that Keefe is no longer a free man means that we might see the feds come knocking on Puffy's door. And it might be happening in the very near future, so here's how and why. So first, let's hop back in time to understand how we got to this point, starting with the hit on Pac and Suge that changed the West Coast rap scene forever and took away Pac from us back in 1996. On September 7th, Tupac was at a boxing match in Vegas, watching his buddy Mike Tyson throw down with Bruce Sheldon at the MGM Grand Hotel. After the bout, Tupac went all out and jumped this dude Orlando Anderson, who was part of the LA ___ gang. He did it to get back at him for messing up one of his bodyguards who was repping the rival Bloods gang. The whole thing got caught on the hotel security cameras, too, according to Chuck Phillips Snoopin. That following night, Anderson and his gang members were allegedly in the process of planning a retaliation after receiving $1 million and a weapon used in the hit from the notorious Biggie's label for records. About 3 hours later, at 11:00 p.m., Bad Boy Entertainment was in a big fat feud with Tupac's Death Row label. Tupac and Shania were sitting at a stoplight on the Las Vegas Boulevard in a black BMW, chit-chatting with some fans when a white Cadillac pulled up next to them. The driver of the Cadillac had a semi-automatic gun, and the gunshots hit Tupac 4 times as he rode shotgun. Tupac hung on in the hospital for 6 days, but sadly he didn't make it due to internal bleeding. Anderson was the prime suspect in Tupac's murder, but he only got interviewed once by Vegas detectives, and he kept saying that he did not do it. He got taken out in some other gang violence in May of 1998. A tourist spy kept swearing up and down and left and right that he had absolutely nothing to do with Tupac's killing. But 6 months later, Biggie was taken out in the drive by shooting in Tac might be gone, but his music is still rocking to this day. They put out 11 albums of his stuff after he passed, and he sold a who in 75 million records. He's also been getting a bunch of honors and tributes. Like in 2015, the Grammy Museum gave him a big old shout out to his music career with that All Eyes on Me exhibit. Then in 2017, he got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And just this past June, Tupac got his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But that wasn't perhaps the most ground-shaking event for all the avid Pac fans out there, especially for those who want to see justice being served. There was yet another event that came this year, albeit more recent one. See, the Las Vegas police are finally waking up and doing their job after a whopping 27 years. Since Tupac Shakur got hit up in that drive by on that Las Vegas trip, they've gone and arrested a supposed gang honcho on September 29th, charging him with off in the hip-hop according to the Las Vegas Metro Police. Legend this guy, Dwayne K.D. Davis, was the mastermind behind the Southside Gang Crips plot to kill Tupac. It all began when Tupac and his group got into a fight with one of their gang members shortly after the Mike Tyson fight on September 7, 1996. Homicide Lieutenant Jason Johansson revealed the details during a press conference following the arrest, stating that Dwayne Davis was the top dog for this crew that carried out the deed. He cooked up the plan and they carried it out. Now, according to the police, Mr. Davis and 3 others pulled up alongside Tupac in a white Cadillac later that same night. Someone in the caddy opened fire on the BMW that Tupac and Shaggy Knight were seated in. At one point during their time in the white caddy, Keefe grabbed his gun and gave it to the people in the rear seat. This arrest is significant since it's one of the most well-known unsolved crimes in police and entertainment history, and no one has been charged with it as of yet. Lieutenant Johansson explained that they had this drought of arrests because they never had any of the goods to bring this case, and dropped the hammer with criminal charges. However, things took a big old turn when Keefe started running his mouth about his involvement in the shooting around the year 2018. And his story matched up pretty close with what the police were already saying. In fact, this case got a second wind as new deeds emerged about Pac's murder, especially when Keefe started confessing his part in it to various media outlets. Sure enough, in a 2018 Netflix doc called Unsolved: The Tupac and Biggie Murders, and in a book he published in 2019 called Compton Street Legend Key, claimed that his nephew Orlando Baby Lane Anderson was the one who did Tupac in, and he was right there in the car when the shots rang out. All right, now, even though this is a recreation of Key's confession, it's a very useful representation of how Key actually talked to the cops. Man Puffy called Zip. When he heard what happened, he kept asking, "Was that us?" So Zip hands me the phone, and I go, "Yeah, that was us." In his book, Key wrote Tupac made a wild move and reached down under a seat. "It's the first time in my life I felt what the cops say, keep your hands where I could see them, instead Poke pulled out a piece." And that's when all hell broke loose after raiding Key's crib in Henderson, Nevada, a city approximately 15 miles southeast of Sin City. On July 17, one of my buddies in the backseat grabbed a Glock and began blasting away. Although police had never handcuffed a person before, a 2002 investigation by LA Times journalist Chuck Phillips placed the blame on a few individuals, including Tupac's rival in hip-hop, the infamous B, whose real name was Christopher Wallace. At the time of his death in September 1996, at the age of 25, Tupac was among the world's biggest hip-hop stars. The legend surrounding Tupac had only grown since then, but that wasn't the only thing that did. In fact, what grew even more was the suspicion that most people had about Puffy's involvement in this murder case. The Diddy story originates from Keefe's repeated mentions of Diddy in interviews over the years. To be clear, Diddy has never been named as a suspect by the authorities. However, Pac's stepbrother is now correcting the record, and what he says could surprise you in an interview with the Art of Dialogue podcast. Moper Shecker spilled the beans on a call he got from Diddy back in 2008. According to Moper, Diddy reached out to him and said, "I just want you to know, I hate to have nothing to do with your brothers. I know who you are, but we never met, and I just want to call you man to let you know that I have nothing to do with your brother's death." Frey was a bit confused as to why P was calling and reaching out to him. Well, as it turns out, it was because of a LA Times article that came out in the year 2000 that was also implicating Diddy as a possible suspect. Now, NPR told him he appreciated the call, but the truth hasn't fully come out yet, so he told Diddy that they will have to wait and see if what Diddy claims was actually true or not. It's been so chaotic ever since, and he didn't know which way to go. Until more information was at his disposal, Ock's brother suspected that Puffy could have been trying to save his own skin in this one. Whether did he call to tell the truth, or just to clear his name isn't certain, but he previously mentioned in a different interview on the Comedy Hype News show that Keefe's arrest is a form of vindication, and he believes that someone will ultimately be held responsible and